Good morning. Good morning. I think we're just going to say welcome. Good morning. So eventually. Good morning. Welcome back. I hope everybody had a great holiday. I hope those of you who celebrate Christmas, I hope you had a great Christmas. I hope you had a wonderful New Year's. I can tell you that I did. I got to spend it with my 15-month-old grandson, so that's always fun. So welcome back. Hope you had a great fall semester. Looking forward to a great spring semester. And Dr. Haas, would you like to welcome him?
Okay, welcome back. I, too, got to spend time with a 6-week-old granddaughter. And she smiles and coos, and it was wonderful. So we had a very nice vacation break. So I hope you did too, and welcome back.
Thank you, Cindy. With that, Brooks, would you come forward? Yeah! Brooks is going to present the employee of the semester.
Thank you, Carter. Or Dr. File, I should be formal. Good morning. Welcome back. Good, very good job. Make sure everybody's awake already. Employee of the semester for autumn of 2022, serving on the committee, we had Marie Janikin. Marie may have had to have left. Okay. We had Travis Morrissey. Travis is here. He made it to the meeting, an all-employee meeting. Give him a hand. Yay! We have Tom McCauley. Tom is here. I knew I saw him. And Bryce McFarland served on this committee. And I saw Bryce. Yay! We had phenomenal nominations. Cannot thank you enough for the nominations that you gave us. Of course, it always makes it a very difficult decision to make. However, the committee did come to a conclusion. A few kudos about our employee of the semester for autumn 2022 is this person is always caring about employee and student development and learning, very collaborative. And our employee of the semester for autumn 2022 is Christopher Lau, VP of Academic Affairs.
Good morning again. Okay, well, again, welcome back. I hope you all had a great holiday. I hope that everybody is revitalized from the fall semester, and I hope you had a great fall semester as well. Just want to hit on a couple of items before we get to the speaker for today. We, as I always try to do, I'm give you a little bit of an enrollment update. The fall is in the books, and we were down about 1.8%. Again, that's a national trend. Enrollments continue to fall, and it's attributable to two factors. One, shrinking in Kansas, shrinking graduation classes, and second, the college going rate across the country is going down. The only colleges and universities that seem to be maintaining their enrollment are technical colleges and private. Elite private universities that were selective enrollment that didn't have, they only take so many students anyway, so their enrollment doesn't really increase or decline. But it stays consistent. We were down about 1.83. We started out the semester, I think, nearly down 5%. So we did a great job of closing that gap. We didn't get it quite where we wanted it to be or quite where we need it to be, but we were able to close it. And starting with spring, we're we're going to give ourselves some work to do again, and we're down about 3.9%. So again, there's a gap there we need to close, and I know that the folks in admissions and I know the folks in all of you who do advising will focus on getting students to not only to enroll initially, but also to persist to completion. So again, enrollment is important for us from two perspectives. One, our job is to give as many students as we can the opportunity to achieve a higher education, because I hope you all believe, like I do, and I know you do, that higher education is a key to a brighter future, a brighter tomorrow. Not that you can't succeed with only a high school education. I just think that higher education makes it much, much easier. So that's the number one reason. The second reason, secondarily, is it does impact our funding. So we always want to keep focused on that. I just want to touch on a few projects. We talked about these in the fall when we came back, and I want to talk about them now and kind of give you an update on where we stand. The first one is the tennis courts. It is the bids have been accepted, the contracts have been let, so that will start in the spring. We have pushed that back to start later in the spring so that we could do the second part of that project, which is the reconfiguration, renovation of the courtyard between Lockman Hall and Parker Student Union. That's all going to be reconfigured. So the tennis court project has been pushed back so that as soon as they finish that, hopefully school will be out, and then they'll start on the courtyard project. We have not let the contracts for this one yet, but the barbering expansion at the cosmetology building is going to move forward. That one's going to be a tricky project because we have to renovate the interior part of the building so that we can add on to the exterior. That one will be, I think those contracts will be coming out, or we'll take that to the board either in January or February. The second floor center, the second floor of the Peel Center is going to be renovated so that with the goal of adding an additional 20 slots in nursing. With that renovation, though, will come the need for faculty. That renovation is going to be entirely paid for by state and federal grants. We had nearly $1 million. It's $999,997. Close enough to $1 million for us, right? We got $1 million from the state of Kansas to do this project, and I got a call. I'm going to drop a name here. Got a call from Senator Moran over the break, and the $1.7 trillion omnibus bill that they passed contained $3 million for us to do that renovation. Well, we only need another $1 million, so we're going to have some great tech and some other things that we're going to be able to do that we weren't going to be able to do before. So, yeah. Now, I don't have the check yet, but he called me and told me. So, and I have a voicemail that he put on my voicemail first. So. So anyway, that project, the beauty of that project is not only will it allow us to expand our nursing program, which we all desperately know we need more nurses, but we'll do so with state and federal money for the construction of the project. But again, that then puts the pressure on our nursing faculty and our nursing program to find more nursing faculty, which we all know is super easy, right? So that's the Peel Center. Along with the Peel Center, we're also doing to help with some of this and to help us integrate with the Hutch Regional Medical Center. We're going to do a project on their campus, and I hope we can use some of this money to do that project as well. I've got to see how the bill was written, but we're going to put essentially a very high-tech simulation lab on Hutch Regional Medical Center's campus, and we're going to use that for clinicals, and we're going to use it to train our nurses, and they're going to use it to train their people. They're going to provide the space, we're going to provide the equipment. So that's an exciting project as well. And then I don't have this written down, but as God is my witness, we will renovate the restrooms in Lockman Hall. And Julie's not here, so I'm going to promise it happens this summer. We got a couple of IT projects that are going on that are going to impact everybody. One that's going to impact everybody, the other is going to impact our enrollment, and we have a pilot group, and Mindy is not here today, and Julie is not here today, so they left it up to me to talk about Office 365. That's about all I know. We have a pilot group of, I believe, about 20 to 25 people. One of our IT people could probably jump in here, but 20 to 25 people that we're starting beta testing on, and we're starting a pilot project to move them from GroupWise to Office 365, with the ultimate goal that in a pretty short period of time, we're going to all move to Office 365 and away from GroupWise. It just gives us a lot of capabilities, number one of which we can move. That's another service we can move to the cloud and pay for as a software as a service, instead of maintaining a server here, maintaining the software. And there are actually innovations and improvements coming in Office 365 that are not happening in GroupWise. So that's one project. The second project is this Slate project continues to move forward. We are working with consultants so they can help us start to put the pieces in place to start to fully utilize Slate. And I know they were on campus in the mid to end of December, end for us, 15th or so. And they were working on what does it look like? What does our processes look like? What do our processes look like, and how do we make those work in Slate, and how do we make our processes work for Slate? So probably more to come on that. Two projects that are there are things we have to do. I don't like doing them, but we are still in the middle of the search for our Vice President for Academic Affairs, and that's going to be completed, in a timely fashion. And then, of course, as you all know, Robin Woodworth, my administrative assistant, has wisened up and is leaving me and going to retire. So as is Dr. Haas. And I want to thank both of them for their outstanding service to the college and for the years they've given to the college. So let's give them a hand. As I tell everybody, Cindy and Robin, we're going to fill your positions. We won't replace you. So, but that is both of those are for the college. Cindy's position is critical because it's such an important position. And then, of course, for my office, I can't do the things that I do, whatever those are. I can't do those without an outstanding administrative assistant, and the college has been fortunate to have both of those for these many years. So thank you again, ladies. We had kind of at the end of the semester, after classes had gotten out, we had a few things that really, some terrific things happened. We played for and won one national championship in esports, and I think it was, where's Christopher? Call of Duty? We won a national championship in esports in Call of Duty. For those of you who don't know what esports are, it is, I'm going to describe it as like super high-level gaming. These are the best of the best competing against each other in gaming. And then we competed for another national championship in what? In Madden, a football simulation game. So let's give them a round of applause. On the athletic side, the Blue Dragons competed for a national championship in football. We came up short. The game didn't go the way we had hoped, but they still had an outstanding season. They went into the game ranked number one in the country. They ran into a very good Iowa Western team, and again, it didn't turn out the way we wanted. But let's have a hand for the Blue Dragon football team. We had, again, a group of athletes that sometimes don't get all the headlines, and that's our cross-country team. Our women's cross-country team competed at the national level, and they had their highest ever finish. They were 4th in the national rankings. So let's hear it for them. The women, that was in the that's in the D1 category. The women have won a national championship in cross country in 2001. That was in the D2 category. And the last thing I want to talk about here a little bit is volleyball and soccer. They both participated in postseason play and both had outstanding seasons. So let's hear it for all of our Blue Dragon students. Okay, well, that's all I have. I want to introduce Jess Fortner to introduce our speaker. And this is going to be a fantastic presentation, so I hope you all enjoy it. Jess?
Good morning. I hope you noticed that we have some younger attendees today. We have some students kids from the Boys and Girls Club here. I'm going to introduce Ayanna Hensley. She is Miss Kansas 2022. On June 11th, Ayanna was crowned Miss Kansas 2022. She's from Dodge City and is a graduate of Fort Hays State University. She majored in biology and minored in English. She's going to come here today. I'm not going to tell you too much about her because she's going to share her story with us. And she's going to highlight the resources, mentors, and things along the way that really helped her be successful. And it's a great reminder that everything you do impacts another person's life. And I'm really excited for her to come up and speak. So I won't go into too much detail. So here is Ayanna.
Now, I'm going to make some tech people mad, and the first thing I do is take this off the stand. I pace quite a bit, so I have to be able to move a little bit, if anything. Now, my first question is always, who has heard Miss Kansas talk? Can I see some hands? There's only a couple, and that's good for me because y'all have no expectations. But when I come to these presentations, more oftentimes, I am in schools, and so that is middle schoolers, high schoolers. Middle schoolers scare me. How old are you guys? You guys are in middle school? Great. Take it easy on me. But no, I love talking. And I didn't find that passion until I became Miss Kansas, so I'll get into that a little bit later. But I have a whole 21 years to talk about. And I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but I've been able to fit quite a bit within those years. Came into the world in 2001. So the year that the girls won nationals, that was my birth year. I find it kind of ironic. You're welcome, guys. But I was born in 2001, and my mom was 18 when she found out she was pregnant with me. So we can assume the chaos and the turbulence that came with that circumstance. But at that time, it wasn't quite as feasible as it is today. Teenagers can make it work. But my mom was also a meth addict. So I had a lot going on. She had a lot going on in her own life. So how the heck is she going to support another individual, another infant, at a time when she could not take care of herself? I'll tell you guys this. I don't talk about this often, but my name, Ayanna, it actually means innocence. When my mother had to have that brave conversation with my grandfather and say, hey, I am pregnant. He was pissed. He was very upset. But he is a religious man. And the first thing he says is, you know what? Regardless of what comes out of this, she's innocent. In Christ, she's innocent. She was here for a reason. And my mom opened up this old name book that she got, don't even know where, probably from some thrift store or something. And my name was highlighted and it was underlined and it meant innocent. So that's where my name comes from. Most times people ask me what the heck that comes from. Where did it come from? I don't even know. But yeah, that was the start of my life. My mom tried her absolute best. But like I said, she couldn't do much. So for that beginning portion of my life, I'm going to be honest, I don't remember much. And I don't remember much because I think it was the grace of God and the trauma, my brain wasn't picking it up. My grandmother this Christmas, she's talked about a stock tank. And it came to me, I got a little bit back. I remember bathing in a stock tank outside of this rat-infested trailer park home in Ford, Kansas, if you guys have ever heard of that. And it was year-round. And I didn't think about a stock tank the way that my Nana was talking about it. And I realized, I said, oh my gosh, that was a pool to me. I had so much fun in that thing. And I think it's all about perspective. But I was living in Ford, Kansas. I had moved to several different schools. And at that point in time that I can remember most recently, it was in 2nd grade. And I was attending Buckland. Close enough-ish, I would say. And I remember Miss Bartholomew. And so this is my first talking point. I was in second grade dealing with God knows what. I don't even remember half of it. But this young teacher, at that point in my time, I thought she was old. I thought she had kids. She was a fresh teacher straight out of school, if maybe even a couple years, if even that. And she had a snack drawer for me. She let me take naps on days that I was exhausted. Instead of going to recess to hang out and play with my friends, she let me come in and just read. And I hated reading, fun fact. But I think I liked the attention that I was getting because I wasn't getting it at home. So she brought me in, she did what she had to do, and before I had to leave, so a little bit of backstory, my dad wasn't really in the picture. I was kind of a surprise to him. Plug your guys' ears, but when my mom found out she was pregnant, she had gone to him and he'd basically said, like, I've had a lot of fun, and I'm not a dad. And so he didn't claim me until I came out of the womb because I looked just like him. But he wasn't really in my life until that moment, until that second grade year. And I was one phone call away from being put into foster care. My mom had gotten her last drug charge that year. So there was 2 weeks where she was just gone. And I remember scouring the trailer park looking for food. I had a younger brother named Evan. He actually lived here in Hutch for quite some time, the Mackeys. He is my favorite brother. I have 3 brothers, and I'm allowed to say that. But I was dealing with all of that, but that second grade year, one phone call away from being in foster care. And when I had to leave, I had to move to Lamar, Colorado. You guys know what Lamar, Colorado is? It's not very nice. I was in second grade and I could walk to school. I shouldn't have been able to. I got in a lot of trouble with my older brother, but we did it. But my dad came and got me. But before he left, and before I had left to move to Lamar, Colorado, Miss Bartholomew, Karen is her name, she gave me a card. And that card had a teddy bear and a halo. And on the back of it, she gave me her contact information. I carried that card with me until after my high school graduation. And I'm emotional. I'm an emotional person. You guys are going to figure that out. We're going to go through an emotional roller coaster today. So that was my first moment, my first indicator of there are people who actually care about you. Sometimes you have to find them, and sometimes they come and place themselves within your life. Moved to Lamar, Colorado. Had lots of fun walking to school. There's that trend going around right now. I don't have TikTok. You guys will understand. But it's like, hey, who's George? And then George Bush, and you push him into the bush. Well, I did that to my brother, but they were cactuses. Yeah, so this is what we talk about. I should not have been able to walk to school by myself with my brother, but we did it anyways. But Lamar was fun. I mean, I got into this new clique. I found friends because beforehand I had moved around so much. Friends were few and far between. And at that age, I'm lucky enough that you kind of love everyone. This is the age you kind of get testy. But I loved everyone. I had friends in school for the most part. And it was in Lamar that I actually found dance. My mom had tried to put me in dance classes, but with financials, it just wasn't possible. For those of you who have daughters who are in dance, I am sorry. It is expensive, but they love it, and it is fun. So it's worth every dime that you put into it. But I found dance. I got to do something that I wanted to do. And my father, he did great. He was able to provide a financial stability that my mom just wasn't quite able to provide for me yet. And that is when education was really instilled into me. So I had hated reading. I didn't like it. But for me, school was more of a place for food, a place to get that attention that I wasn't getting at home. It was never about the potential of a future. And so then my dad had instilled that into me. He forced me to lay in my bed and read the Junie B. Jones books. And he even went back and he got his GED. Because if you preach to your children that education is important, you have to model it somewhere. And he knew he wasn't given great job opportunities because he didn't even have a high school degree. And so he went back, he kind of did that. If I'm going to talk the talk, I have to walk the walk. And I didn't appreciate that until I was older. I didn't really understand why he was so mad at his laptop all the time. I just knew that he was mad. And so it was a disconnect for a while, but I'm thankful that he had gone back and he had modeled that for us. And life was, like I said, a lot better. My mother had gotten an opportunity to come back into Dodge City where a lot of my family is. And so we moved, and that was about 4th or 5th grade. I'm at that point in my life where it all molds together. I know. Take it with a grain of salt, but it kind of meshes together in my brain right now. Came to Dodge City, and I played soccer. Yep, played soccer for a little bit. That was something that I got to do that I really enjoyed. But the basis of this is I was finding things that I liked. Dancing was still very apparent, and then got into about middle school. And that is when my life changed. I found running. I was on a cross country. No. At that point, I was not cross country. I was just on the track team. If I ran more than a 400, I'd drop dead. And gotten all of that stuff, was still dancing, having a blast. But it was also those couple of years where my dad had gotten in a really severe accident. His esophagus had ruptured. So, like I said, my life's really good. Sailing, smooth sailing. That accident, esophagus ruptured. For those of you who don't really know what that is, when you swallow, it goes into your esophagus. When it ruptures, your body's toxic. Your organs are not designed to cross-contaminate in any form of, cross-contamination. He was septic, and he was in a medically induced coma the whole summer. All summer. So he had a lot to recover from. He is a really weird statistic. He should not have made it out. It was the ICU nurses that brought him out of that. They had pushed one surgery, saved his entire life, one that the doctor wasn't even going to perform. So I owe it all to them. The reason I'm going into the medical field is because they showed me that. But after that accident, I am the only girl in my household. I have 3 brothers. That comes with the territory that people do not understand unless you're in it. So I had this double standard. And I was gaining my independence. I was pushing it. And I am my father's daughter. And so when he was struggling with his life and he was trying to control the aspects of life that he could control, you know what? I don't blame him. I have no clue what it's like to almost lose your life. I hope I don't find that out. But because of that, he controlled anything and everything he can get his hands on. And the backstory for both of my parents, they came from nothing. My grandfather was in Vietnam. And so he came back home, and my father, being the oldest son, he took the force of that, quite literally. And so he did the only thing he knew how, and that was abuse. And so that was what changed the trajectory of my life. I was smooth sailing. I was skyrocketing into that future that I visioned for myself and that my parents wanted, but because of their own shortfalls, I crumbled. And it was in middle school where I started to act out. I started to do things that I wasn't proud of, things that I would not be proud of today, because I let people influence me. And after those few years, you know what? I kind of buckled down. Cross country saved my life. That's when I got into cross country. It was my freshman year of high school. That summer before high school, I was locked in my bedroom all summer. Couldn't come outside because a boy texted me. Yeah. And my dad didn't know how to handle it. We'd never come across that situation before. Up until that point, boys are gross. They had cooties, right? That's a weird age. And so I started to have a crush. And my dad didn't really know what to do with it, so psychological trauma. I'm an extroverted person. You guys will, if not already find out, you will get to see that. And I was locked in my bedroom, had no form of socialization other than my family. And even that, I couldn't really see my cousins. I couldn't see my aunts and uncles. And I became depressed. I wanted to kill myself. I had tried that. For the first time I'd ever tried to kill myself, it was in those first couple of years. I felt so alone. And I got into Dodge City High School, and they have a lot going on. Dodge City High School, USD 443, is a great school district. And it was because of school, once again, my safe haven. The one thing that grounded me was always my education, and still to this day, it grounds me. And I got into cross country. I had joined the team, and Brian Lenz, he's the coach, if you guys had ever heard of him. He's been around a while. And he says, you know what, make it through the first week. And if you can make it through the first week, I think you'll like it. Because I was either going to be a cheerleader or I was going to do cross country. And at that point, I was really leaning towards being a cheerleader. And I remember our very first workout, he took us to what we called the Egg. And it was this neighborhood by the country club. And if you guys don't believe me, Dodge City has some pretty gnarly hills. And you're going up this Egg, and it's all uphill. And then you're coming back down into what would be the apex, and then you finally get some downhill. And the only thing you have to do is jog. That's it. That's all he wants you to do. Jog around for 30 minutes. I tell you, I probably made it 7. And I started walking. I was not having it. But it was because of that I learned how weak I was. That was a burn to my ego. And so kept going. After that first week, I decided that I actually did want to do cross country, and ended up being the MVP runner, the most valuable player, I guess, but you're running, so it's different. That very first year, my freshman year of high school. Grades, great. I had something pushing me. I had this form of accountability that also depended on myself. The glorious part about cross country is that it is a team sport. But before it is a team sport, you have to carry your own weight. So I had to be accountable in my own actions, but that also correlated to being a team member. And so found that. I did. I was doing great. Life was getting better. Yes, I had to deal with the things at home, but because of my school life and my friends and dance and cross country and all the things that I was involved in, I was so distracted. And I think about it now, and oftentimes when you're going through these life circumstances, you don't really know what's going on while you're in it. It's that outside perspective that you never really get until you're out of it. And I did not experience that until my senior year of high school. I'm going to dive into this one a little bit. So my father, we know the backstory. The older I get, the more independence I'm wanting, and that is bad. The more independence I was gaining, the less respect I was given at home. And my senior year of high school, I had a decision. Stay at home and put myself in a life-threatening situation, or leave. And all of this was an account of money. Money and greed was a huge part of my home life. And I was threatened. You have to pay for your phone bill. Newsflash, guys, at that point, I was already paying for my phone bill. So me being as blunt as I am, I told my dad that. Retrospect, I probably shouldn't have. But then I had to be faced with that opportunity that if I was grown enough to do a thing such as pay for my phone bill, I was grown enough to live on my own. And like I said, I was kind of acting out at that point in my life. Yes, I was involved, but I also had an attitude on me. And so I said, all right, watch me. So at 17 years old, I was on the streets. I tried to live with my mom. She lived in Cimarron, Kansas, so it's really close to Dodge. It's kind of like an outskirts, 25, 30-minute drive depending on traffic. Really dependent on traffic in that dang highway. So I tried to live with my mom in a self-dug-out basement. It was not very clean. I mean, it was musty, it was moldy, and, that's something that I didn't really appreciate at my father's house. I had my own room, I had my own space. Yes, it wasn't the nicest, but it was my own. And moving in with my mom, I love my mom. We get along great, unless we're in a room together. And so then I had to drive, dealing with all that nonsense. I had to drive to and from school, and being on the cross-country team, you have 2-a-days, and that often means 5 o'clock in the morning practices. Y'all ever woke up that early to go run? It's not fun. And then I would go home, go to work. I worked at a bar. I don't care, Sports Bar and Grill. Have you guys ever been there? Probably not. It's kind of a hole in the wall, but it's good, and I worked there all throughout high school. But I wouldn't get off until 11 o'clock at night. And so then I'd have to drive all the way over to Cimarron again. At that point, if we do the math, 3-4 hours of sleep, thinking about homework too, wasn't ideal. So I actually just moved around with my friends and their families, and I actually resided with my boyfriend's family at the time. It's where I was kind of permanently set up in a sense. He was off at college. He went to Arc City, so I didn't have to worry about him being there and all of that comes along with that. But yeah, that year was rough for me. Being in pageants and whatever you want to call them, there's always those, what are your best days of your life? What are the worst days of your life? How can you solve world peace kind of questions? And I always go back to that senior year of high school. I experienced some of the worst moments of my life that year. I mean, I was 17 years old, and I couldn't even sign my name. I could not sign my name on a dotted line and it hold any weight. And people were reminded me of it daily. And so I was a full-time high school student, and my coping mechanism was busy. So I stayed busy. I was so overly involved, and then I had this ominous feeling of how the heck am I going to go to college? Because of those ICU nurses that saved my father's life, I was going into the medical field. That was my whole entire route throughout high school, and so I'm too deep. I'm so deep into it, I'm rolling with it. And so I actually had done a fixation on radiology, and we'll get into that and why it's important here. I was so fixated on college and how the heck am I going to get there that not only was I a full-time high school student, but through the dual credit program throughout USD 443, I was also a full-time college student because it was cheaper. And I was paying for it all on my own. It was really the only way I could get it done. And so my thought process at 17 years old was, how am I going to get college paid for? And the only thing I knew how to do at that point in my life was to run. And so I ran. I think the hardest I've ever ran in my life. Gosh dang, guys, I'm emotional, sorry. But because of that stress, and because of the things that I was dealing with at home, I started to have panic attacks, and they would only hit while I was running a freaking race. Yeah, how does that work out? So I had all of this weight on me. I have to get a full ride scholarship running. And I had the worst season of my life my senior year. But your guys' coach here, He made me feel wanted. He was offering me a full-ride scholarship to Hutch Community College because he knew it was in me. My times probably didn't show that, and I would have been a very good runner in terms of the Hutch Community College team, but it wasn't my full potential yet. And he saw through that. He saw through the BS. Because college coaches everywhere. I mean, Fort Hays State was one of them where I ended up going. Shame on me. But he was like, he would tell me all the time, I know you can run it. I know you're a great runner. I know the scores and the points that you're putting forward, but I'm not seeing it. And how do you tell a person who has never gone what you've gone through, I can't right now. I physically and emotionally cannot do it right now. And so that idea kind of went out the window. I wasn't going to pay for my school because of my running. But I was coming here. You guys had me. And then I had this opportunity, the Rudd Foundation. I'm a Rudd Scholar. That's the only reason I went to Fort Hays State. I would have came here and I would have gotten my degree in the radiology program. Would have been done in, like a year and a half, I think. It's been a while. Would have loved it. I would have loved the career path. I would have loved the educational journey and the running that I would have been able to do. But I was settling for the life after that. And that was something that I really had to navigate, and it was hard. I had 2 opportunities. Love where I was going. Do what I wanted to do, and that was run. God, that's all I wanted to do. Get done with school pretty early. But then I would marry that high school sweetheart that I thought I wanted. And I would have stayed in Dodge. I would have been okay with it, but it's not me. And then I had this other path that I had no freaking clue what I was doing. All I knew was that I would get my school paid for. But that was 4 years of school. I didn't need to go to school for 4 years. So I was kind of compromised. I was like, well, I can do what I want to do at the time or what I thought I was going to do, or I can kind of take this shot in the dark and just try. Well, I did that try. Didn't know where I was going, but I was going somewhere. So I'm a Rudd Scholar. Went to Fort Hays State, changed my major to biology with a human health emphasis, because the medical field was still on my radar, but I didn't know what I wanted to do, because I had 4 years now. I had 4 years that I could have paid off. Now I'm going to go into PA school. I got accepted into Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska. Just a little future woo, happy moment. Yeah. Thank you. But I went down this path, and that was the best day of my life, I think. That senior year of high school, all of those worst moments, all of those freaking panic attacks. And then when they brought in this check, and I remember this day vividly because I didn't want to go to school that day. My mom was going to call me out. And I had glasses. My hair was thrown up in a ponytail, but we had the newspaper coming in for our dance team. You were supposed to have your hair done, makeup done, looking like we're supposed to look on the dance team, and I didn't care that day. I went in ponytail, glasses, hair thrown up, was not looking my best. And I had that attitude. And go to the dance stuff, making it through the morning, because that was the only class I had at the high school was dance team. The butt crack of dawn was not having it. And they brought in this check. And I had my school paid for. So you guys understand that higher education is so important. And it was the best day of my life because I got to see that light at the end of the tunnel. For the first time in a very long time, I saw it. And I always, on the drive up here, I always try to map out what I'm going to say, but I do best when I'm winging it. And I remember being in the living room with my father. He kind of tested me. He always tested me. And he'd make jokes about I don't think running's going to pay for your college. I don't think you understand how expensive college is. And I remember sitting on that floor and telling him, you know what, Daddy? I'm going to get my school paid for. I'm going to have a full ride scholarship. I'm smart enough. I can get it done. And he just kind of laughed and was like, whatever, girl, whatever. And I made it happen. And I thought about that on the drive up here, is that everything I've ever told myself I was going to do, I did it. But I never did it alone. Karen Bartholomew, my second grade teacher. Brian Lenz, who still calls me. God, he talks on the phone for so long. But he still calls me. You're Hutch Community College, your coach, your cross-country and track coach. I didn't know it at the time, but I still remember him, and I still follow the accounts because it meant that much to me. The Rudd Foundation changed my life, got to go to school moving forward and whatnot. And then Miss Kansas. I did not want to be Miss Kansas, guys. I grew up with boys. I wrestled. I was rough and tough, and it came into my life when I think it was supposed to. That very first year of college, when I was trying to figure out things that I wanted to do just for myself and what I could do, Miss Kansas would pay for my postgraduate degree. Kinda. That's a foreshadowing. I'll tell you about it in a second. But I was like, more scholarship? Let me just try this thing. Went in that very first year with Facebook resale dresses. Where my mom, well, I guess dads do this too. Do you know how much prom dresses are? Do you want to know how much prom dresses are? If you're not there yet, wait for it. And so pageants. Can you imagine a freaking pageant dress? So I went on to Facebook and I got a dress for $100. You can't even find prom dresses like that anymore unless you dig real deep on the internet. And go in, had this talent. I did the dance myself. Didn't really know how to interview. I liked people. That was good enough for me. I could talk for the most part. And I go in and I almost wanted to quit. Because at that time I was working at Table Rock Lake over the summers. I was a little dock hand, so I'd help with boat maintenance and I'd pump gas. So much fun. Oh man, I had way too much fun at Table Rock Lake. So I didn't want to come back to Pratt, Kansas and compete. I really didn't. So at that point I kind of hyped myself up. I said, you know what, you put all this dang time in it, just try it. Came in that very first year. If you make top 10, you have some bragging rights. And that's all I wanted. Make friends, make top 10, say that I did it. Tell my kids, you know, your mom was top 10 at Miss Kansas. She's pretty cool. And I was in top 10. I got called for top 10. So, yeah, I was top 10. Thought my job was done. At that point, didn't care. I said, you know what, I'll do my talent. It's over with. And then I got called for top 5. And I'm going to say, because you guys are old enough, I said, oh, shit. And I panicked. I didn't even know where to stand on stage, and there were X's for us. I'm ghost white. We have to go up and answer like 2 questions, the world peace type of questions. And I remember going up there, and they call 5th place, and they call 4th place, and they call 3rd place, and I'm still sitting up there waiting. No clue what's going on. And I'm holding hands with Taylor Clark. Her name was called. That means that she was Miss Kansas, and I tell you what, I have never been so excited for someone in my life. I was praying the entire time, but it was not for me. And we always laugh about that later on. But then kind of foreshadowed my next year, because then I'm competitive. So I want to go back one more time. One more time before I graduate college and see what's the next step for me. So I go in, and this time, instead of just making friends, instead of just having that anticipation of making friends, I want to make a little bit more of a difference. So when you're Miss Kansas, or even just competing for Miss Kansas, you have this long thing called a social impact initiative. It's just what you advocate for. I hate that they have such long things and tongue twisters just to say, what are you passionate about? And I picked childhood trauma. Because how can you be some of these girls, we're opening this can of worms, talk about and advocate things that they've never understood or have never had to live through. And that's okay. If you're passionate because you know someone who knows someone that's gone through this worldly problem, good for you. But I wanted to be able to master something, and I've mastered my own life, so talk about childhood trauma. But the very first year I went in, I talked about how can you prevent it. And then I had to have kind of a self-reflection moment. Everything in my life, I could not have prevented it. There was a lot of outlying circumstances that I had no control over. It was part of my story to go through these things. So why have that false hope for others? And so I changed it to overcoming, because it's so much stronger when you put it that way. I am so much stronger when I am not an outcome of my circumstances, but I'm a product of what I want it to be. And so I went in, I got a little. I was involved in Big Brothers, Big Sisters, very similar to you guys, but just a little bit different. And so I had that one-on-one. Her name's Lizzie. My God, she keeps me on my toes. I got payback for all the things that I had ever done at that age. And I fixated on that. I said, you know, if I'm going to make a difference, I want to make it matter, even if I don't win this year. Because when you come in as first runner-up, you got a lot of weight on your shoulders. And I always laughed. I said, guys, I just want to do this just for fun. Don't put that on me. But yeah, I wanted to make a difference, and I started to pay attention to the things that mattered to me. And that was just that switch. That was the only switch that I needed. Got called for top 10. Got called for top 5. I didn't say, oh, shit. And then moving forward, 5, 4, 3, it's me and Jetta Smith. And she's praying over me when we're holding hands. And Ayana Hensley is called Miss Kiowa County, and I'm Miss Kansas 2022. And it was in that moment, and he called me cheesy. I promise I'm being truthful here. all of those moments that I'd ever experienced in life, and even some of the moments that I don't really talk about, the crying on my floor, the wanting to take my life, the questioning why. Your life is just a big why. It made sense. And it has never made sense before. And so now as Miss Kansas, all of that past, all of those 20 years at that point, I was going to use them. And I was going to use them in a way that people don't usually associate them with. And I've gone into schools. Middle schoolers are my favorite now, not at the beginning. And I tell them everything I wish someone would have told me. Not the sugar cookie, like, oh, you are so capable. You guys have this life ahead of you. I tell them that it freaking sucks sometimes. But you got to get through it. I tell them, we play this would you rather. And I know what you're thinking about. It's not that would you rather. And I give them these life scenarios. And there's no right or wrong answer, because that's not life. And I have them make these decisions, and I have their peers screaming at them, screaming, trying to convince them where to go. And I tell them, that out there, you guys right now, it would be you guys. That's society. That's life. You're going to scream. They're going to try to pull you so many different directions, but you do not have to go where you do not want to go. Set those boundaries. We talk about valuing your life. Yes, I talk about some of the trauma in my story because I level myself. When I come in here and I have it in that black fancy box over there, when I come in a crown and sash, people don't take me serious. And that's kind of the double-edged sword of being Miss Kansas. People always say, oh my gosh, they love the glitter and they love the sparkle. And I say, yeah, tell a 14-year-old boy that. They don't care. So I have to level myself when I go into schools, and I have these harder conversations. And truth be told, when I was announced Miss Kansas and they kind of go over your business plan, I said, guys, I'm just Ayana Hensley. I came from Dodge City. I didn't really come from much. Yeah, I got my college degree, so I think that makes me cooler, but I don't really know what will set me apart. Because one of the first things they ask you is, what's your legacy going to be? I hate that question. I don't know. I can't predict all of the perceptions that people have of me. If I do, they're going to be way wrong. And I've realized that every school presentation I go to, just being vulnerable, saying oh shit to people, being real and being authentic, that was the legacy, because after every single presentation I've ever gone to, all 280 of them, so far, still ticking. A young boy, mostly boys, young girls, they come up to me and they ask me how. They ask me, what are some things that I can do? Can I have your phone number? Laugh with them. This was the moment for me. I was in, it was a small town up by Hayes, kind of, maybe Osborne. I think it was in Osborne. And I give this presentation, but at the end of all my slides, I always say, you are valued, you are intelligent, and I love each and every one of you. And I say it, and it kind of weirds people out, but it's not for those who are weirded out by it. It's for the children and even young adults who realize that they haven't heard it in a long time. I didn't hear it as often as I should have. And so I put that forward, and it's my sly little hook that I offer. And this boy came up to me, tears, and he hugs me really tightly, actually, kind of took my breath away. He goes, I didn't realize how long it's been since I've heard the words, I love you. You know, it was so small to me, but I think that's why God placed it on my heart. Didn't want to be Miss Kansas, not even the slightest bit. It was never appealing to me, but Kansas needed me. Moving forward to Miss America, I just got back, guys. I'm feeling a little rusty. That was the craziest week of my life. But we had gone out to Connecticut, and still, at that point, I was there just to have fun, because there's so many capable women. It's intimidating. It is so intimidating. And I had different states, people all over the country even, messaging me and telling me how much it meant just to hear the words that were coming out of my mouth, because I don't play the game. And for those who aren't really familiar with pageants, you can assume there's a game to it. And there is. There absolutely is. You can play the game just long enough, and it's going to get you to that finish line, but you're never going to cross it. And so as Ayana, coming up, kind of cussing like a sailor at that point, being who I was, that sets you apart. And I will take that any day over being Miss America. And got back. And still, it was that legacy that I now get to leave behind. And it was all because of that past life that I had lived. Education was important. I found things that ground me. And I don't know each of your guys' stories. I couldn't even try to. I don't get to walk the shoes that you walk in. Find something that grounds you now. because it will matter. You said you guys are like 13, even 10 years down the road, because I'm pushing that. It's going to matter 30 years down the road. But you have to find those things that matter to you and only you only. So that's the part that's going to make your life a hell of a lot better. Heck of a lot better. I can't say 2 words. But yes. And now I usually open the floor for questions. I'm kind of an open book. I talk about this. My relationship with my parents are really, it's great. I had to kind of go through this moment of reflection, realizing that I only have one set of parents. And so I have to take the time that I've given on earth and I have to use it to the best of my ability. I do know that I love my family in doses, and that's come with time. But that's usually one of the first questions I get asked is my relationship with my family. And sometimes it's a hard conversation to have. And at first, my dad was completely against it. And then he had to come to the realization that no one's perfect. The only people that expect you to be perfect are yourselves. And it's through our story that people are able to see it within their own, make changes, overcome the things that they need to overcome. But it's very important to listen to and hear. So do you guys have any questions for Miss Kansas? I'm not rich. That's usually one too. No? Anybody? You guys have a long day. We can make it fun and spicy. Yes. I think I made it easy for them because I was so vocal. It's a double-edged sword. Not many children are like that. I found that so many of them are just quiet. And don't ever go just for the students who are all red flags, because I was never a red flag. I was kind of just smooth sailing in the yellow area, so I was kind of forgotten. And so sometimes that was an indicator in itself. But just plant a seed. All I ever do is plant a seed in my presentations. I just say I love you at the end of them, and then it opens up this can of worms that I didn't even know needed opened. So just plant seeds, because you are just one individual. It's hard. You guys are so somber. Did I make everyone cry? Light and airy questions. Let's think. Man, what's like something funny that happened at Miss America? Oh, we're all delirious because we have no sleep, and we had like a party on our last day, and I bet y'all wouldn't believe it, but we blared No Scrubs. And that is what got us pumped up for the day. So that was nice. That's something light and airy. I love DMX too. That's my wakeboarding music. I don't run anymore. I should, but I don't. That was a big part of my life that people were just like, oh, do you run marathons? Heck no. No, I don't. Yes. I don't think I would have if I wasn't in extracurricular activities. It was that form of accountability for me. And I liked school because school no longer was just learning and reading when I didn't want to. It was really that safe haven that I needed to find. And so make it fun. I still struggle with chemistry. That is the one thing my brain just never got over. Still, I'm screwed for PA school. And it was because throughout college, there was another scenario in my life with my father and my stepmother, and it's pretty traumatic for me. My stepmother had almost died. They were in an accident. My dad had ran her over. Yeah, mic drop on that one. It was an accident, and she had seized up. She was actually here for quite a while, and so I was the next of kin for both parties, and so I had to do all the lawsuit stuff. Isn't that some baloney? And so it was when I was trying to learn chemistry, and that was the first time I realized that because of those traumas, I wasn't picking up anything. Because college, it's a blast, but it's not fun. And since I wasn't having fun in chemistry, I didn't learn it. And so I see that now, and I can talk about it. I was getting by the edge of my teeth. C's get degrees, especially in chemistry. Anything else? You guys are laughing now. Anybody? I think we had like 45 minutes. I have no clue how long I was talking. Quite a while. I think that's it. And yes. Of gum? Oh, hold on. It's in the pink extra box, but it's not bubble gum. It's like bubble mint, maybe? I'm a visual person. I know it's pink. Yeah. Anybody else? I think give it back. Yes. Oh, yeah, I can talk about this too. I love them all. Derek, my older brother, he is graduating from Fort Hays State. He's actually going into education. He's in sports management right now, but he's graduating, or did technically already graduate this last semester, but he's student teaching. Evan, the one who had lived in Ford with me, he was here for a while, but now he's in Cimarron with my mom. His father had passed away last Christmas. He's doing good too. He's come out of his shell quite a bit. He likes hands-on stuff, and Evan, the little e-games, what were you guys talking about? Esports, that man would go crazy on Call of Duty. He would make me sit there and watch him play zombies for hours. So he's a gamer, but he's kind of strayed away from that, and he's loving mechanic, car, whatnot. So he's coming out of his shell quite a bit too. I've gone through a lot, but that kid's gone through more, and I'm humble enough to recognize that, and so that's why he's my favorite. He doesn't know it. If I tell him that, he'll cry. But he's doing great. He loves school. He hates math. Runs in the family. And then Seth, actually, he was brought into the world when my parents should have been having kids. He is in 6th grade now, so a huge age gap. But he is everything that my parents did not give to us, trait-wise. So he's actually very kind of shy, kind of quiet, which is really cool to see all the personalities. I'm sure you guys get to see that with your own kids, but it's kind of fun seeing it with your siblings too. But yeah, they're doing great. They still go hard on me too. We still wrestle around a little bit. I still wrestle even though I look like this 99% of the time. It's just because of the job. I wouldn't do this on a regular basis. Do you guys have questions? I feel like you do. You got brave and waved at me earlier. Just ask it. It can be silly. My favorite fruit is Oreos, but I can't live off of them, so sushi. Yes. What's next? Oh, man, I'm excited about this one. So, as Miss Kansas, the first half of it is always Miss America. That's all they let you freaking think about. And so now that Miss America is over, I went on a trip to Mexico. I went on a vacation, and I told them, if you need me, don't. But it was a nice refresher, because then what's next is whatever I want to make of it for the next 5-ish months. I give away my title in June, and then I make the move up to Omaha to start PA school in August. So I really only have about a month off in my life before things really get crazy. But it's always perspective, because PA school is so structured, and Miss Kansas is not. You are all over the map, all the time, talking about so many different things. And so it's a nice refresh to just have that structure again. And I'll specialize in pediatric oncology, so childhood cancer. Being so young with my parents, all of my siblings, all of my cousins, well, not all of my siblings, I have older siblings too, I guess, were always so much older. So I kind of instilled that motherly instinct. I was always babysitting. And so I always wanted to do pediatrics, but then the oncology side came from my mom, actually. She's gotten cancer twice, is in remission for both, but I saw the effects of it. In the last go around, I was in middle school, so I was at that age where it hurt a little bit more. And so I want to combine all of my life experiences and specialize in that. And yes, I know it's hard. Usually people do but it's so tough. Someone's got to do it. So that is what is next. And then after that, who knows? Have children. Hang out wherever I decide to go. And I think that is it.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. If you don't mind staying here for a second, I think we were going to have you pick out, we had 2 prizes left over from our Christmas party, and we were going to have you draw the names, if that's okay. While we're waiting for Denny to come down, Ayana will be available in the lobby afterwards if you wanted to just say hi or take a picture with her. And the Boys and Girls Club, that's the same for you guys. You can stay and take a picture and maybe ask the questions you don't want to say in front of everybody. So. Oh, 5. So pull out your tickets. Get ready. I'll read the numbers off. I heard they're good prizes this time. All right, get ready. Should I just say the last 3? Are they all? Okay. I'm going to read all 6 digits. 558436. 558436. All right, is that Cynthia? All right. All right, the next person is 558533. 558533. You must be present to win. So, sorry, 533. Maybe that's mine. Hold on. No, that's not mine. I did not win. I would have felt bad anyways if I won. Okay, it's just the last 3 digits. 543. 543. All right, we have a winner. Yay. Four, 2, 8. 4, 2, 8. All right. Four, 6, 8. 4, 6, 8. All right, we got a winner over here. All right, one last prize for today. Our last lucky winner is 454. 454. All righty. Did you want me to just dismiss them? Okay. Last one? Oh, awesome. All right. Thank you, Ayala.
Thank you. Let's give Ayanna Hensley one more round of applause, please. Just thank her for being here. What a moving message, and Ayanna, thank you for sharing with us. Congratulations on winning Miss Kansas. Good luck on Miss America, and your PA school, and all of the other adventures in your future. So again, thank you for sharing with us today. I think one of the important things that came out of that message is how much we can all influence and play a part in helping students and people, other people besides students, with their problems. I think our job, the hardest part of that message for me was figuring out who all needs that help. And I think if we just assume from the get-go that everyone needs help in some way, that may be a place to start. With that, I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you and welcome you back. And we're going to release you and let you go about your day. Everyone has the schedule. Everyone has the schedule. So please participate in the meetings as you need to. Have a great semester.